All right, we are
Hey,
live.
Marty
Yay,
Nicole,
hey
what's going on?
everybody. Let me just make sure that our Facebook family knows that we're on as well, because we are just going live today on YouTube. So it'll just take me a second.
No problem.
Should have had this maybe
Everybody
set
is
up.
learning how to adjust to this stuff.
And we're super new at StreamYard. So we're still
how to adjust to this
stuff.
And
we're super new at see, look at that.
Apparently it's working.
Hold on. It's like an echo.
That's
there we go.
Delayed, yeah. I think that's how it always is.
It's kind of strange to hear yourself do that. So let me just tell everybody here. And then, did you know what today's topic was, or do you know what today's topic is?
I'm guessing it's classroom structure.
Dun 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 dun.
See? That's why reading is awesome. Oh,
You too can read.
Dave was just calling me.
Oh, hey Dave. Tell him to get on the call. I'll send him a link.
I'll chat with him after.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dave is our web guru. He is our guy.
He really is. He's you know what I love about working with David is he's a former student. And he's a former student who came into my class because an admin told me that another teacher couldn't handle him, and he was a senior and he was like really kind of bucking the system and going to get himself in trouble. Mm-hmm. And then he came into my class, and 2 months later, he's on the news talking about how great our school was in the program and how he made $1,000 with a class project.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I used to have the news. It was even in my orientation back in the day, to just encourage kids to, like, you know, anything you guys want to know, if you're a self-starter and you can figure it out on your own, go nuts. And then I'll figure out a way to grade it.
That's pretty neat.
But those are all the kids that were, that did best were those kids most of the time.
Huh. Yeah. It's so crazy to like hear how people are connected, you know, like, and how David is connected to you, and like how we met and everything. It's just, and we've talked about it, well, not on camera, but we've talked several times, like how you got started into teaching and I got started into teaching kind of the same way almost. I mean, nuances were different, but the
sort of an accident.
So yeah, accidentally became a teacher.
Yeah. And I think that's probably part of the strength was that we, because we had to learn on the fly and we didn't have all of the training, and I was an education degree, but it was health and phys ed. So I didn't have all the structure for how do you organize a lab and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Honestly, though, I think that was a strength because I just had to go with the kids, like, what the guy do last year, or, what do you guys think? And working on it together and cooperating, I feel like that's the biggest strength. Like, that's the big shift that's happened on Brain Buffet that's just really changed our company from being, my kitchen to a legit company,
Right. Well, and that's, I can share our screen and show, like, oh, I'm so excited about StreamYard. I'm sorry. I'm having a moment where I'm seeing like what we can do with StreamYard, and I'm like, ooh, this is exciting.
Good. Let's hope it crash and burns. That'll be even more fun.
That's what you always hope for. I tend to not.
I do. Yeah.
So maybe
that's because my superpower is screwing up, Jack. That's how it works. Like, what happened?
Yeah. All right. So I've just put it on, just so you know, I put it on Facebook that we're live on YouTube because we're trying to see. We're trying to build our YouTube channel. We're trying to build our presence, in the social media communities, just so that we are more available to everybody. So that's part of us creating our website structure. So I guess what we can talk about, Rob, is how I find it interesting how you ran your classroom versus kind of like how I ran my classroom. So I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit. Like, what would a day in a Rob Schwartz class look like?
Have you ever seen an explosion?
Yeah.
Imagine the educational version of that. That's what my classroom looked like.
Could you give us a little more than like a Wile E. Coyote type of reference?
Sure. So I think so. A big part of this is learning a lot about my personality and stuff. And as I'm learning more, I'm clarifying some of my strengths and weaknesses, and also fixing misconceptions I had about myself.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that is definitely true about me is that I really only work best when I'm sort of off balance a little bit. Like I have to be on my toes. If I plan, I mess it up every time.
Right.
It's really odd. So for me, it was kind of like, start the class, break something, and then fix it with the kids for the next hour. That was sort of a subconscious, but almost a strategy. Was even when I had something planned, it was, let me plan it, and then I'm going to plan so that it doesn't work. So like set the kids up to think it's going to work this way, right, and then it doesn't. And then we have to think and figure it out on our own and learn to do the problem solving process again.
Right.
So that was sort of the strength of my program, and one of the things that I liked most. What I'm recognizing is that that's super uncommon, and it won't. I thought that other teachers I could teach them how to do it that way, and it would work for them, and it won't. And
well, that's like differentiated instruction teacher style,
right? And that's really what I was able to see this week. I had a great call with Scott Mosby. He's one of our, I hope he doesn't mind I said his name, but he's one of our teachers. Kind of honestly, in the past, I kind of looked at him like kind of someone I mentor, but then I tried to make that sort of official. Like we've got a standing meeting every couple of weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
In the last meeting, I learned so much from him, just about working with kids that like structure and how comfortable they feel in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing was, and this is what I think, when it comes to structure, here's what matters most. He is aware of his own personality.
Right.
And for him, all that structure and set up beforehand, as he's building the structure in the worksheet, he's thinking about all the kids, and he's like, man, I really love those kids. I really want it to be fun and easy for him, and I don't want it to be like a burden of figuring out where things go.
Right.
So I want to create really good systems. And as he was explaining it, I was just like, holy smokes, I thought I was going to mentor Scott, and now Scott's mentoring me.
We should get him on and have him talk. Well, I mean, obviously,
sure.
Don't want to put him on the spot today, but get him on the show. And like,
I'm sure he'd do it.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I'm sure and if anybody wants to, I can send them the link and they can get on. Yeah, it's well.
And the comments, it doesn't seem like anyone's in. So
I see one. I think there's one viewer. So hi, that viewer.
Hi.
So I think that yours was a bit more open. I feel like your structure in your classroom. Mine was
a way to say chaotic.
It was organized chaos. I find that a lot of creative people I find a lot of creative people have organized chaos. Like, the art room, like I love my art friends, but every time I would like visit their art room, there'd just be like stations, and if you asked where something was, they knew where it was, but it wasn't always like if I walked into an art classroom and, it was like, holy cannoli, I have no idea where anything is in this classroom. So I found that a lot.
Nightmare.
Yeah, it sounds nightmare.
Yeah.
My classroom Well, and I guess maybe yours too, because it was all online. But my classroom in the substitute world, I feel like was like the dream classroom to walk into, because
Yeah.
the kids knew what to do and they knew where to go and they had a lesson, and the teacher just literally had to come in and take attendance and was like, okay, these kids are doing what they're supposed to, I guess. But I feel like my structure was a bit different. Not in a bad way. It was just different.
Yeah.
Like we had, so I know I've said it before that I had, it developed into this way. I had about 50 kids in a class, and I had 6 classes a day. Not a day. They were 90 minutes. So it was, and this was in my first school. It was 90 minutes, and I had, I think, 4 classes that were 90 minutes, 1 class that was like 50 minutes. And that 1 class that was 50 minutes was kind of like the homeroom. So it was always those same kids.
Yep.
I think it's called like the AB block, so it's like you see the kids every other day. So you didn't even get to see them every day.
Yeah.
So I had to have that structure, like super structured, because I got lost sometimes, if I didn't have that, like, and my structure was it was loosely structured basically. So like in the first 10 minutes that the kids would get there, they had to read a book and they had to sit down, and I didn't care what they read. I said, you have to bring something to read, sit down, read, because there was this big push. I don't know if your district did this, but there's this like really big push about like getting kids to read.
Yep.
So you had to build it into your curriculum anyway. So it's like, well, attendance, here we come. That's how I'll do attendance for the 50 kids. I'll sit down and they'll read, and I'll do that. Get ready for the day. And then
50 kids, people.
Huh?
50. I'm just letting people know that you blew over that 50 kids, 50 children per period.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 300 kids total usually. And in the beginning of, how like the first few weeks, I don't know if it's like this at every school, but I feel like the first few weeks was always you had way more kids than your class could probably handle. And there were some weeks that I would walk in and I'd have 55 students on my roster. And I was like, I can't do that. I can only go so far. And I'm not a college, those college classes where you're like there and 1,000 other people are there, that I was like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not getting paid enough for that. That's not what I'm here for. But yeah, it ran smoothly. I hate to say, I hate to glaze over it as if it was no big deal, but honestly, it was no big deal.
I think it becomes a big deal when you get panicked or angry or wish it was different when it's not. It's like you roll with the punches. Everything's kind of okay.
And I will say my first year was overwhelming. And I didn't have 50 kids my first year. My first year, I freaked out if there were 40 kids. And I think that was a combination of not having enough working computers. Like I had computers, but my computer lab was a rolling cart of laptops that the laptops were, I feel like at some point I said, the laptops are almost as old as the students that are in here. So I feel, and obviously that's not really true, but in technology, I feel like once you get a computer, they're already like a car, you get a computer in 6 months, it's already 6 months outdated. So
computer years are like dog years.
Yeah. So my first year, I did a lot of panicking. I feel like there was a lot internally. I never outwardly panicked because I feel like kids are like dogs. They can smell fear. So
yeah. That's how they know when to attack.
Yeah, exactly. They know when to push the buttons and the correct. They're like that movie Elf where he goes in and presses all the buttons on the elevator. So
Will Ferrell and my student have a lot in common. Lot in common. Same. Every character that Will Ferrell has ever played. Very similar to most of my students.
Yeah. So that's why I had to have mine super structured. I would do, let's see, what else did I do besides the 10 minutes of reading? They knew to get onto the website. And at the time, I don't think you were when I was in this classroom and using Brain Buffet like religiously, I hate to, I know that's not the probably right term, but you were giving out your curriculum on CDs. There wasn't a site. You had a Brain Buffet site, but it was your classroom site, and there wasn't like a membership. So it was, the CDs. So I always put my, the curriculum, and it evolved into me having my own site and my own, videos for a while. So the kids would know, hop on the website, get on the stuff. They would have like, if it was a 90-minute class, they would have like a full 80 some minutes to do a project, which in our curriculum is amazing because, if they get into that, like the zone and they're sitting there and they're like, I'm doing it. They really have that time to kind of flourish.
Yeah.
Whereas in my second school, we were on a, I think it was a straight 7 school, it was like 45, 50 minutes of class instruction time. So the structure had to change. So in my first school, 80 minutes or so of instruction, and I would allow the kids to get up, use your headphones, walk around, whatever. So I guess it was more of a loose structure because for most of it, they were just on the website.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems is we get hung up on the structure rather than the attitude, because and I think that's the thing I really heard with my conversation with Scott was he's really structured, like really, really structured, the total opposite of me.
Right.
And I always found it so curious because from the beginning we hit it off, we're good friends. But after hearing him talk, even though he's got all the structure, when it comes to the rules, he's open to tons of feedback from the kids. So he's just like, yeah, what do you, if this isn't working, and, kids will ask, like he had a bathroom pass a quarter or something.
Yeah.
Or 2, or I don't know, whatever it was. And when kids would get in trouble, he said they could either give up their bathroom pass, which or they could have a detention. And he said, I was really shocked that kids would take detention and stay after school rather than give up their bathroom pass. And he said, and especially that happened when it got to the place where if they just needed like a mental break day, like I just want to go get a Coke or whatever from the machine or a candy bar or something, or I want to eat a snack and I just want to sit at the table and I want 10 minutes of just leave me alone.
Right.
They could use their bathroom pass for that. And in class, get off task and it's okay. Have a mental break time. Yeah. He said the kids would not let go of that. Like they would serve a detention before giving that up. It was the most valuable thing.
Right.
And I was thinking a lot about that. It was just because that is one place that he created autonomy for the kids, because they're at that high school age where they have to learn how to become an adult.
Mm-hmm.
They must have the option to make choices about when they pee, when they eat.
Yeah.
Like, and it can be hard as a teacher if you went to a rigid school and then you teach in a rigid school. And even as a teacher, you're not given those kind of adult, that's just America, man. That's just life, liberty, and pursuit of the bathroom is a core ideal of America. And
did you give out bathroom passes? How did that work for you?
For me, I was just like, you know what, as long as it's not a problem, if no problem's ever created, I don't really give a crap. I kind of had a one kid out at a time rule.
Right.
Other than that, didn't really care. And I don't feel like it was abused. Even with the kids that kind of went to the bathroom all day, it would always be like right after lunch.
Right.
And I started clamping down on this one kid. And I remember them just coming up and talking to me like an adult and just going, Schwartz, I know it seems like I'm running out of class every day. I'm happy to come in early.
Right.
But when I eat, I'm just a very scheduled person. Same thing at home, same on the weekends, same at night before bed. I know when I eat.
Right.
30 to 35 minutes, I need to use the bathroom. And I was like, and he's like, and I just ate. So
Right.
every day it's going to be right around this time.
Right.
And working with that kid and showing him respect changed the way that I felt about him, that he felt about me, and the way we worked together. And it made my classroom better.
Right. Well, and that's so I used to use this term I called bot bucks. It was like Bank of Technology money, basically. It looked like Monopoly money, truthfully. And every year I changed the color because there were, kids that would go in your program and they would like hoard the bot bucks. It was like you can't use them year after year. Unfortunately, the currency changes. So, whatever. So that's how I always did bathroom passes. I never limited the amount of bathroom passes they could use, but it cost them money because at the end of the quarter, if they didn't use all of the bot bucks, they could turn it in for extra credit. So, and they earned it in different ways. It was just a rewards. It was a way to reward them. And I don't know if I ever asked them. It would have been good if I ever go back into the classroom and I use that. I will use that. Like you can either pay in bot bucks so you don't get a detention, or you get the detention, and see how that would play out. Because I feel like it would be interesting to see what kids value the bot bucks versus
Right.
But it was the same idea. I feel like every teacher has their own way of handling it. And what's funny is in my first school, I feel like that worked really well, the bot buck situation. And in my second school, the kids really didn't care. They were like, I don't care. I don't care about this whole thing that's been working for you for 7 years. I adopted the like one pass per quarter rule at that school, because they honestly, nobody turned them in. They didn't care for the extra credit. It was just like, I guess they didn't feel they needed it. And I didn't want, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's really just a matter of working with, and even in the same school, sometimes you just get that, that 1 year, the class of 09, and it's just like, weren't they kind of an odd bunch? Like they were just different as a whole group across the campus. I remember teachers talking about in the lunchroom or whatever. And it's like, there was just an odd flavor about that particular group of kids. I think, as teachers, the best thing we can do is just learn to put out surveys, just like we do, with Rainbow stuff. We don't know what's it like being in a classroom now?
Right.
Well, or not in the classroom now. Like, what's it like? So we have to do surveys and stuff and get you guys feedback, because we have no idea what it's like. And every district's doing it different and everyone's scrambling.
Right.
So we have to experiment and do best practice, because I'll tell you whatever you've been told is not necessarily best practice. It's first idea, which is almost never the best idea.
Right.
Never. So we just have to experiment and try and be comfortable failing, making a mistake. And then you go, all right, that didn't work. Well, what was bad about it? What was good about it?
Right. And that's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
Failure's the best teacher.
Failure's the path.
We don't have any viewers that are watching now. And I think it might be because of the time, because last week we were on later and we had more people viewing. So if you're viewing this and we're not live, can you please comment below and tell us what times are good for you guys? We're in Eastern time. Rob and I are both in Florida. So what times work for you guys? And that way, because we want to interact with you guys. Yeah. So we want you guys to be a part of this. We want you to comment, because that's when I feel like the best live streams happen. So please comment below. Let us know what times work for you, and we'll go from there. Next week, just so you know, we're going to have our Premier Pro trainer on with us. He is Joe Dockery, and he is another AEL, right? That's the right term?
He is, yep.
Yeah, another AEL. He's going to be on with us, and we're going to be talking about his all-girls film that we sponsor. Yeah, it's a really cool thing. We will link below for tomorrow's live chat. They're having a live chat. So we'll link below the live chat if you want to catch their live chat with, I don't know what the topic is tomorrow or who they've got on, but I know they have some really awesome industry, film industry connections that they've been interviewing and things like that. And he was just on with Adobe. I think it was like a week ago or two where he was talking to them about it as well.
I remember that. Yeah. With Claire and
Tanya.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks. Brain cramp.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tanya.
But yeah, we'll link to his it's really kind of like a community at this point, right? So we'll link everything below so you guys can see it. And then for next week, depending on what you guys tell us with times, we'll be back on Thursday, but the time might be different because again, we want your involvement. This is a teacher's lounge, essentially a virtual teacher's lounge.
But no griping.
No, maybe a little bit, but yeah.
Productive griping. Productive griping.
Yeah, conducted. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Productive.
Productive griping is allowed. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So is there anything else you want to add in there, boss?
I don't think so. The only other thing I'd say is that the stuff that Joe's done with the interviews with the industry people have been excellent. They're and it's a lot on my kind of hippie stuff that I like creativity and taking a big chance and going for it. Those kind of lessons are really important for our students.
Right.
And I also just love that he does this all girls film festival because girls are underrepresented in our fields of really all creative fields pretty much. And I think that's just wonderful. Like I'm just so proud of Joe for that. And I love being a part of it. And it is just really cool. So teachers, think about those weird niches. Even if you don't fit in, right? Joe's a guy teacher doing this all girls film festival.
Right.
That's okay. As long as you recognize a need, a way to encourage a niche of your students. Mine was always the hippies and weirdos and, geeky kids, the weirdly antisocial kids. Those are my people, So I tended to do things, it's kind of oriented to those guys.
Right.
Generally with guys. So yeah, I think figuring out a small group within your class and let them be one that you truly feed into and really just have a handful you can mentor will change your classroom experience overall and make it feel like you're back into teaching for the reasons you got into it, to change a kid's life.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. Time to be determined. And thanks for stopping by.
All righty. Stay classy, Sandy.
Bye.
All right. Bye.